Hello everyone, welcome back to another installment of Home Media Reviews. Some lessons have been learned since we last spoke. First of all, I found out that recording later on at night actually helps with the heat, so I will not be boiling alive throughout this HMR like I was last week. Also, turning the light off in my closet also helps. And some things from a filmmaking perspective were also learned from last week. We took a look at the groundbreaking science fiction classic, The Terminator, last week, and this week we're looking at its sequel, Terminator 2: Judgment Day. Quite possibly one of the greatest action films ever made in history. Since making last week's home media review, I found out that the first Terminator film was actually selected to go into the Library of Congress for preservationist purposes. Why the hell didn't they select Terminator 2 as well? Because this movie is damn near perfect. We'll talk more about that later, though. For now, let's jump into the home video history of Terminator 2. So Terminator 2: Judgment Day hit theaters on July 3rd, 1991. This actually hit one day before my birthday, around 7, 8 years later. I was born in 99, so that's pretty cool. I didn't see Terminator 2 until, 6, 7 years ago. I was just getting into the whole movies being a huge part of who I was phase in my life. I was in early high school, freshman or sophomore year, I think, and I first saw Terminator 2 on Blu-ray. I picked it up from Target, actually, along with Terminator 3 on the same night, I'm pretty sure. And boy, oh boy, was I blown away the first time I saw Terminator 2. I had heard from various YouTube channels like The Flick Pick and Jeremy Johns and Chris Stuckman about how great Terminator 2 was. They weren't kidding. I'll be honest, the first time I watched Terminator 2 and I got to the ending where Arnold, spoiler alert, lowers himself into a vat of molten steel, I almost cried. It was very emotional for me. At one point, I probably would have told you that this was my favorite movie of all time. Now, I know I say that Avengers is my favorite, but I kind of have a rotating list of films that go through that. And this one, since watching it for this review, has garnered a larger spot on that list. I still tell people that Avengers is my favorite movie, mainly because it's just so fun, and I can watch that and instantly be put in a good mood. But Terminator 2, pretty freaking close. I'm going to go ahead and warn you all now, I don't have every version of Terminator 2 on home video here in my history section. This is just kind of like a highlight reel because there are so many different variations of Terminator 2 on VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, and Blu-ray. I found most of the Blu-ray and DVD variants, but when it comes to VHS and Laserdisc, that kind of stuff isn't archived well online yet. Or maybe it is and I just couldn't find it, but right now we're just taking a look at some various highlights of Terminator 2. This hit VHS/Laserdisc in December of 1991. Could not find an exact date for that. Interestingly, though, the VHS was in full screen while the Laserdisc was primarily sold in widescreen. Funny how that works there. Fun fact for you, a record 714,000 rental copies were sent out to several video rental stores, and this became the most popular rented movie in January of 1992. I'm not surprised. This movie was a gigantic phenomenon when it first hit theaters and then again on home video. 2 years later, on November 24th, 1993, the special edition of Terminator 2 hit Laserdisc, not VHS. There was both a widescreen and a full screen version that was available for this. Now, the special edition of Terminator 2, most commonly referred to as the director's cut, adds in about 20 minutes of extra scenes that were cut out from the theatrical release. The most notable one is the scene where Arnold is getting the head surgery and he's in front of the mirror and Linda Hamilton is trying to break into his head and change his chip from read-only to learn, I believe. If you watched that cut that had that scene where Arnold was receiving head surgery, you saw the special edition. The special edition is good, but I would recommend the theatrical cut more. It's just more lean. Here's a release I actually missed last week for The Terminator. This is a Terminator VHS collection. This came out in 1995. This included both the original Terminator and the sequel. It came in this really cool silver slipcase. It was honestly pretty sweet. Terminator 2 then hit VHS in widescreen on August 20th, 1996. Finally, the VHS people can experience Terminator 2 the way God intended in widescreen. The DVD of Terminator 2 then hit on October 22nd, 1997. Like a month or two after Judgment Day was supposed to hit. Funny, right? But again, still only the theatrical cut. The special edition has been stuck on Laserdisc since 1993. Come on, James Cameron. When are you going to give us the special edition cut on DVD? Oh, wait, just 3 years later, on August 29th, 2000, the Ultimate Edition DVD for Terminator 2 came out. This included the theatrical cut, the special edition cut, and a third cut that I didn't even know existed until doing research for this. Apparently, this third, longer cut has a few more deleted scenes and has the alternate ending put in. The alternate ending is where Sarah Connor is all grown up and has a granddaughter and is watching her play at the kids' playground. It basically says, yay, Judgment Day was stopped and everything was fine. The end. It's not really a great ending. I'm glad they cut it. June 3rd, 2003 brings us the Extreme DVD. Same contents as the Ultimate one, but now has a new metal case. Fun. It's extreme. Come on, kids. Get excited. September 14, 2004 brings us the Extreme DVD once again, but this time without the metal case. It's just a standard plastic DVD case. So now it's a little less extreme, don't you think? June 27, 2006 brings us the Blu-ray release of Terminator 2. But again, only that theatrical cut is on this disc. There is no special edition that's included on the 2006 Blu-ray. That would come later on, after the Arnold double feature DVD set, which came out on February 13th, 2007. This included Terminator 2 and Total Recall. You're going to see these movies paired up a lot throughout this history. Apparently Terminator 2 and Total Recall just love to be together. Don't get me wrong, Total Recall is a fun movie, but I don't see what it has to do with Terminator. May 19th, 2009 brings us the Skynet Edition Blu-ray. Here's the Blu-ray where both the theatrical cut and the special edition are available together for the first time on the same disc. This is actually the version that I found at Target 6 or 7 years ago. It was still on store shelves, surprisingly. Doesn't have a slipcover, so that stinks, but it's still cool that I found it. This wasn't the only Skynet edition, though. There was a second version of this Blu-ray that is way cooler than the one I have. This version came with 6 discs and included a bust of the Terminator skull. I know that the Flick Pick, John Flickinger, at one point had this version of Terminator 2. I don't know if he still does or not. I haven't seen it in the background of his videos recently, but at one point he had it, and it's amazing. I wish I had it too, but I don't. It's probably the coolest release of Terminator 2 that I've ever seen. Oh, and there was another release that came out on May 19, 2009. The Extreme DVD was reissued. But wow, the artwork on this. What did they do to the skull? I get it. The Terminator skull is supposed to look freaky, but not like it's almost human. I mean, this thing's creepy as fuck. Anyway, let's get that nightmare fuel off of the screen. Make it go away. Thank you. The Legends Blu-ray 2-pack hit on November 23rd, 2010. Remember how I said that Terminator 2 and Total Recall really like each other? Here's another one where they were packaged together. This line was introduced to tie in with the Expendables movie. It's why it's called the Legends 2-pack. Because Arnold Schwarzenegger makes a cameo in the first Expendables movie. And I mean that. Just a cameo. He's not a main character in the movie at all. He just shows up for a scene. Part of the reason why that first Expendables movie isn't as great as people wanted it to be. Myself included. August 14th, 2012 brings us the Arnold 3 DVD pack. This included Total Recall, Terminator 2, and Red Heat. People don't like Red Heat for some reason. I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. But again, Terminator 2 and Total Recall hanging out again. When are these movies going to have sex? We've already talked about this one, so I'll speed right through it. August 28th, 2012 brings us the Terminator Anthology 4-movie set. Had the cool slipcover with the T on it, and you take it off, and then there's the T-800 endoskeleton head. You get the gist. We talked about it last week. November 23rd, 2013 brings us a Best Buy exclusive steelbook with new artwork of the Terminator skull that's being engulfed in flames from the opening credits of the movie. This steelbook is badass. September 9th, 2014 brings us a Blu-ray 3-pack. All Lionsgate movies that are included in this 3-pack. That's included Terminator 2, Red Heat, and Punisher Warzone. You thought I was going to say Total Recall there, didn't you? No, for some reason, we have Arnold, Ray Stevenson. I don't know why Punisher Warzone is in this 3-pack. I guess they had a surplus of discs that they couldn't get rid of, so they threw it in here. At least with Terminator 2 and Red Heat, it makes sense because they're both Arnold movies, but Punisher? I don't know. Maybe it's because they were all R-rated? May 19th, 2015 brings us a Blu-ray reprint that now includes a digital copy, and not an old one where you need a disc to unlock it. No, a modern-day one. That's pretty cool. Uses the theatrical poster art, which I really like. February 7th, 2017 brings us the Arnold 6-movie collection Blu-ray and DVD set. These are two different things here. This included Terminator 2, Red Heat, Total Recall, there we go. They broke up for a bit, but now they're back together again. The Last Stand, Maggie, and Hercules in New York. I have seen The Last Stand. It's totally fine. Have not seen Maggie. It looks like Arnold is nursing a little zombie girl or something on the cover there. I've never heard of Hercules in New York. Oh boy. Later on in that year, December 26, 2017, brings probably the most infamous 4K release ever to the market. It's when Terminator 2 hit 4K, and James Cameron proved to everyone that he just really loves messing up his movies. Not from a story standpoint, this 4K looks abysmal. From a visual standpoint, it looks awful. There is DNR everywhere. It means that James Cameron tried to scrub away all of that lovely film grain and made everything look just like wax figures. All the people, I mean. I do not own this 4K, and I never will own this 4K because it is abysmal. It is probably one of the worst 4K transfers you'll ever see in your entire life if you care about how films look. If you don't care and you just want to own the movie on the biggest and best format, I mean, to each their own, but man, just get the Skynet version from back in 2009. I mean, that one doesn't look great, but just get that one. Also, in this new 4K, they CGI out Robert Patrick's balls when he first arrives in the past. So that's points taken away because funny, haha, man parts. July 17th, 2018 brings us a 4K special edition variant with a Terminator endoskeleton arm. It was a scale replica of the Terminator arm with a glass case included from the movie. That's fun, but it still gives us the crappy 4K. James Cameron, why do you hate your creations? October 2nd, 2018 brings us a retro VHS style artwork Blu-ray release. This one's pretty cool. Now, I would have picked this one up if I didn't already have Terminator 2 on Blu-ray, because this is a fun little throwback thing here. I think my Last Action Hero Blu-ray has this retro VHS style artwork to it, as well as my Super Troopers Blu-ray. We've already talked about this one, so I'll speed through it here. Terminator 6 movie Blu-ray and DVD collection hit on November 17th, 2020. Includes all 6 of the Terminator films. Yada, yada, yada. Fun. This one's pretty sweet, though, and it brings together 2 movies that just love each other so much. Terminator 2 and Total Recall, because there was a Target exclusive lenticular steelbook release on May 25th, 2021, where Terminator 2 and Total Recall were available in a beautiful steelbook set that had artwork of Arnold Schwarzenegger as Terminator and the guy from Total Recall. Can't remember what the hell his name was. It's beautiful. I love it so much. I kind of wish I bought it now that I'm hyping myself up about it. It's a beautiful steelbook set. November 23rd, 2021 brings us a new 4K steelbook with new artwork and slipcase for Terminator 2. It's a Best Buy exclusive, obviously, and this release is one of the only reasons that I have ever considered buying Terminator 2 on 4K. I know I just said earlier I would never buy it, but man, that steelbook is really nice. Lionsgate is killing it with their 4K steelbooks. It just, wow, it looks amazing. I mean, the slipcover has Arnold's face on it, and then you take the slipcover off, and it's the endoskeleton that's underneath, and the artwork is so beautiful. I kind of want to go on eBay and find it, because there aren't any copies available at my Best Buy anymore. Oh, man. Hopefully Lionsgate will one day just put it back on the store shelf, because apparently they do that. They did that with the Dread Steelbook a while back. They just randomly reprinted that one and put it back on store shelves. My Best Buy had a couple copies of it, and Dread on 4K, that Steelbook I think came out in 2021, I think. But like I said, Lionsgate, the best studio out there for physical media sales right now. Their Steelbook game, killing it. But that's the last time, folks, that Terminator 2 was put out on physical media. We still have not got a new transfer of Terminator 2 on 4K, and we probably never will because James Cameron is weird. We still don't even have True Lies or The Abyss on Blu-ray. Not even Piranha 2. But that wraps up your history section. Let's move right along to the close-up of Terminator 2. Alrighty, everyone. Here's your close-up look at Terminator 2 Judgment Day. We're starting off with a VHS copy of the movie, which I found locally at a antique mall of all places. I guess Peddler's Mall and an antique mall are pretty similar, but if you saw my What I Was Doing While I Was Dead vlog, another shout out to that if you haven't watched it yet, because there's a lot of cool stuff in it. I found this at the South Louisville Antique and Toy Mall. Shout out to them. They had a huge booth with a bunch of VHS tapes in it. It took me a while to nail down which ones I was going to buy, and this was one of them because I could make a video out of it. Yay! Plus, I just love Terminator 2 so much. It's a great movie. Schwarzenegger up there at the top. We have some sticker residue left over. I think that was from the price tag I removed. Probably could use a little clean there, but that's okay. Iconic shot of Arnold sitting on the motorcycle. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. We have Carol Co. home video. Rating, closed captioning. This poster's so cool. I love it so much. If I had a place where I could put my VHS tapes out on display, this one would be front and center. Oh, but Lego Lover, why don't you clear off your action figures and put your VHS tapes up? I have too many damn action figures, man. No, I'm not going to do that. That would be too easy. Kyoko Home Video, a different portrait of Arnold from a different moment in the film. Schwarzenegger, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, VHS, hi-fi stereo, product number. The back is very dynamic and very 90s. You have barcode there, screenshots from the movie, a screenshot of Robert Pattinson, some more screenshots, that iconic finger wave from Robert Pattinson, and then another shot of Arnold with his shotgun. I should pose my NACA action figure in that pose. I think it would look pretty good. You have a blurb about the movie, approximate running time, 139 minutes, text specs and stuff down there at the bottom. The other spine looks the same, except it has a little bit of sticker residue there, but that's okay. The top just has the title. This one does not have any promo materials inside of it, but there is what your label looks like, and whoever had this previous to me was kind and chose to rewind. Yes, I will say that every single time I show a VHS from here on out on the show. I promise you that. So the last time I showed a VHS on Home Media Reviews, I didn't own a Blu-ray of the accompanying film. That's not the case this week, because Terminator 2 was actually one of the first Blu-rays I ever bought myself. I think this Man of Steel I got for Christmas one year, and I'm ashamed to admit this, X-Men Origins of Wolverine were some of my first Blu-rays I ever had. I liked that movie when I was younger. I didn't know a lot about the comics. I didn't know how they ruined the character of Deadpool and Blob, and I'm sorry for my sins. You got your Blu-ray label up there at the top. Skynet edition. Ooh, fancy. Schwarzenegger's name again. Endoskeleton skull there. T2 Judgment Day, as many people shorten the title to now. I like Terminator 2, though, but I can see why people would prefer T2. It's very precise. Portrait of the endoskeleton from the front. Another Skynet edition there. T2 Judgment Day. Blu-ray disc logo, Studio Canal and Lionsgate. The back, barcode, screenshot of Arnold with the shotgun. We have a blurb about the movie. Over 8 hours of interactive special features. This is one of those Blu-rays that was trying to push the interactive format, where I'm sure it has a interactive video commentary and a whole bunch of other stuff. You got games, quizzes, all kinds of stuff on here. But the additional features are over here. And a whole bunch of stuff about the different audio tracks and a whole bunch of stuff about the subtitle tracks and everything. THX optimizer, all that fun stuff. It doesn't say, where does it say? It has the extended cut of Terminator 2 on here, and I can't see if it says it anywhere on the package. No, I don't think it does, but it does have the extended cut of Terminator 2 on here. I guess maybe feature runtime 152 minutes. That's what, 2.5 hours? I think that's how long the director's cut is. It has about 20 to 30 minutes of footage put back into the movie. So maybe that's it. But if you open it up, there's your Blu-ray disc. It's a squished up version of the poster art, which we're very accustomed to seeing here on the show. But it does, I reiterate, it does have both cuts of Terminator 2 on this Blu-ray disc. It's VHS footage showing time. You guys care about the VHS footage? I love it, personally. I love that I'm able to show that to you guys. I've been uploading a lot of VHS rips onto my channel this last year, and I hope you guys are liking them as much as I am finding them and uploading them and all that good stuff. So we are going to take a look at some footage from the Terminator 2 VHS tape and then transition right into the menu tour for Terminator 2's Blu-ray.
The survivors of the nuclear fire called the war Judgment Day. They lived only to face a new nightmare, the war against the machines.
Alrighty, everyone. Here we are for a menu tour of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. This Blu-ray is interesting. It has this cool online interactive feature. It loads up like it's connecting to the Skynet server. Ha ha, funny. And I guess you can browse specific internet content if your Blu-ray player is connected to the internet. I'm guessing this content was hosted on some kind of server thing and it was shut down because my Xbox One is definitely connected to the internet, and yet my Blu-ray said your Blu-ray player is not actually connected to the internet. Which that's okay, because it means this menu loads in half of the time. Because when I first got this Blu-ray, and I was watching it on my old LG Blu-ray player, back before I got my Xbox, this thing would take like at least 5 minutes to finally boot up the menu, because it was like, it just kept wanting to connect to the internet, and it's just so stupid. Why? Just load up the damn menu. I want to watch the movie. I don't want to browse the internet on my Blu-ray of Terminator 2. But anyway, at least this one actually has a menu, unlike last week with The Terminator. We have a very dynamic interview here, some kind of weird centrifuge thing spinning there in the front with clips of the movie playing on a projected screen in the background there. We have several options. We have select version, browse timeline, sensory control, interactive modes, ancillary data, or Skynet access. Select version is pretty cool. You have the theatrical cut, and then you have the special edition cut, which the theatrical cut is like 2 hours and maybe like 20-something minutes, but the extended cut is 2 hours and I think 30 minutes or so. It says right there 154 minutes, and the theatrical is 137. That's cool that both versions are included on this Blu-ray disc. Browse timeline is your scene selection. So we have titles, numbers, and also screenshots from the movie telling you where you are. We have, I think, a ton of scenes here, because each scene, I think, only goes for like 3 minutes. Now, I think this gives us scenes for both the theatrical and the extended cut, because here at the credits it says 2 hours and 28 minutes. The theatrical cut I didn't think was that long, but I guess it's only 78 scenes if you don't count the credits with the unknown future there. But then you also have the restoration credits there, which adds another couple of minutes on to the end of the movie. Sensory control, that one's going to be your audio and such. So we have a 6.1 mix for English, a English 5.1 mix, which is a Dolby surround sound mix, French 2.0, English 2.0 for headphone usage, English 5.1 theater vision, audio description for the blind and visually impaired. So the only other audio track that's not English is French. But hey, you also have commentaries. You have a production commentary with 26 members of the cast and crew. Wow, that's a lot. And you can watch that in English, French, or Spanish. And then a writer-director commentary with James Cameron and William Wesher. That one's from 2003, and you can hear that in English, French, or Spanish. Subtitles include English, English for the deaf and hearing impaired, Spanish, and French. And we have a D-Box motion code. I have no idea what this is. Oh, okay. This is to control... So this is your D-Box motion control page. This is for if your seats can vibrate, I guess. I had no idea that was even a thing in homes, let alone theaters at this point in time. But D-Box motion code... I'm not reading all this to you. You can pause the video and read it if you want, but I guess that's to sync up your D-Box chair and your system with this movie so it moves accordingly. THX Optimizer is for setting up and testing your home theater system. We're not going to do that. I don't have a home theater system. I just have a little Polk sound bar, which sounds great in my room. But we also have a VUT2 THX trailer. Interactive modes. Visual implants. View picture-in-picture video about the making of the movie during the feature. Trivia data overlay. View text commentary and trivia throughout the film. Production data. View specific shot methodologies during the film. Linked data modules. Branch out from the film to view behind-the-scenes slideshows with audio. Source code. View the original screenplay in sync with the film. Schematics. View the original storyboard sequences in sync with the film. Query mode. Take a T2 trivia quiz during the film. And processor tests. Test your skills with mini-games during the film. And this is all while you watch the movie. This isn't like just random bonus content. No, this is while you watch Terminator 2. That's a lot of stuff there. That's pretty sick. Ancillary data, this one will be your bonus features. We have a bunch of trailers, teaser trailer, 2 theatrical trailers, special edition trailer, and then a THX trailer. We have terminated data, play all the deleted scenes, which I think these are your deleted scenes here. T1000 search, future coda, Dyson protocol list, which is just your Blu-ray credits, and the Skynet access thing. Use Blu-ray Disc Live on Profile 2 Blu-ray players to download and view additional content. So most of your bonus content is going to come at you while you're watching the movie, actually. There's no, like, behind-the-scenes documentary here that you can watch separate from Terminator 2. You have to watch it through the interactive modes menu up there, which is kind of cool but also kind of frustrating. If it were up to me, I would rather watch my behind-the-scenes features separate from the actual movie because I can't focus on 2 things at once. Some people probably liked it, though, and it does make for a fun menu tour. Unfortunately for this menu tour, though, it is now over. Let's move right along to the ending wrap-up and answer the 5 main questions, as always. Nothing like a sip of wonderful milk from my president's mug that conveniently stops at president number 45. But you guys can't see that because this is an audio-only section of the video. Maybe I should start doing video for this section. What do you guys think? Anyway, we're back from the close-up. Now it's time to answer the 5 main questions, as always. Number 1, where can you pick this product up? Difficult to say because the Steelbook has not been available on store shelves for quite some time now. Neither has that 6 Terminator movie collection, so I'm going to have to say secondary retailers for this. You're not going to be able to find it at your local Target or Walmart. Number 2, is this product still being printed nowadays? No, unfortunately it's not. Number 3, should you pick this product up? This is a movie that I have loved since the first time I saw it. You heard me earlier on in the review. The first time I saw Judgment Day, I almost cried when Arnold lowered himself into the molten steel pit. So there was never any question whether or not I was going to recommend this or not, and this is kind of going to be a tough review to actually do because everyone's already said all the great things about Terminator 2. I think the Nostalgia Critic put it the best when he said, quote, "I think that Terminator 2 may be too perfect a movie for me to critique." Yes, I still watch the Nostalgia Critic. I still think he's funny. Don't come at me in the comments section. He's funnier than iDubbbz, at least. At least he didn't fall off as hard as iDubbbz did. I agree with that statement. Terminator 2 is so damn close to being perfect. There's only one little thing that I noticed while watching it for this review, but we'll talk about that later. You remember how I said that lessons were learned back with the first Terminator film? Not only were some lessons learned from the first Terminator home media review, there are also some lessons learned from that first movie. Mainly being, get more of a budget. Because Terminator 2's budget, you can see it right there on screen. This movie looks stupendous, even today. The opening of Terminator 2 is basically just the opening of the first one, but on steroids and showing you every single aspect of the future that's gone to absolute shit. I love it. The tank rolling over the skulls, the Terminator walking up towards the camera as he stomps on a human skull, as Sarah Connor is talking about how 3 billion lives perished in an instant. It is a bone-chilling opening, and it sets the tone for this movie perfectly. As well as the opening credits, everything being engulfed in fire, just showing the absolute terror that a nuclear strike can cause. Like I said, it's bone-chilling. Then we get to the arrival of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator, the second time he's ever played this character, and the second version of this character. Boy, is Arnold's performance amazing or what? I mean, I don't know how he didn't get nominated, at least for Best Supporting Actor. I don't know if that's necessarily a hot take or not. Terminator 2 didn't exactly gain any Oscar nominations, I don't think, but, I mean, Arnold at least should have got a Best Supporting Actor nomination for this. Instantly, when he shows up, if you haven't seen Terminator 2, you don't know that he's supposed to be the good guy. There's nothing about him that says, oh, Arnold's good now, unless you saw the trailer, which spoiled it. And come on, everybody knows that Arnold's the good guy in Terminator 2. It's unfortunately a spoiler that generations down the road will have to live with. But you wouldn't know that if you've never seen it before. He demands clothes from that biker dude in the bar, and then George Thorogood's Bad to the Bone starts playing. Some people take issue with that. I think it's hilarious. There was a time when that song wasn't cheesy. I think it's funny, too, that the Terminator has preferences, showing that he's a bit more human now. He actually wants sunglasses. Why? I guess he thinks they're cool. He wants the bike. He wants the shotgun. Like, he has preferences. He's developing more of a personality throughout the film's runtime, and you can see that in the scenes where John Connor is teaching him to be more human. Speaking of John Connor, we meet him in the next scenes, played by Eddie Furlong, an actor who hasn't really had the best of luck since this movie came out, but man, is he a good kid actor here. I think the thing that I love most about Eddie Furlong's performance is he actually acts like a child. Like an actual 13 to 14-year-old kid. He's not a Disney kid. He's not sanitized at all. He swears throughout the entire film. He says stuff that a 13-year-old boy would say. I know this. I was 13. I used this kind of language when I was that young. You think it makes you look cool. It makes you seem like you're an adult. He's a rebel. Of course he's going to use excessive profanity. And of course he's going to rob an ATM machine for only $3,000. I don't know why only $3,000. He probably could have got more out of that, but what do I know? I've never robbed an ATM before. I may have got these scenes mixed up, but the liquid metal T-1000, also known as Robert Patrick, shows up shortly after the Terminator does, and in contrast to Arnold's arrival, Robert Patrick's is very mild. I noticed while watching when he's approached by the police officer, it's never actually shown that he stabs him. I assume he does, but to the naked eye, it looks like he just knocked the poor guy out. It doesn't seem like he's actually dead. Of course, we know that the T-1000 can morph into knives and such, so that officer is more than likely dead, but again, if you didn't know this, you would think that Robert Patrick is the good guy. And man, oh man, does Robert Patrick play such a great villain throughout Terminator 2. He is so convincing in this role. It's so freaky, too, because when you realize he's a machine, he's supposed to be what Arnold is, but yet he acts like a human being. He has human-like mannerisms. He speaks like a human does when he's talking to John Connor's stepfather and stepmother. I mean, he sounds like an actual human being. Yeah, he's a good-looking boy. Do you mind if I keep this picture? It's not like Arnold's, "He is a good-looking boy. Do you mind if I keep this picture, Sarah Connor?" It makes me think that the machines in the future learn to replicate human movements more. And that scares the bejesus out of me that AI was able to figure that out, especially with how fast it's developing now in our modern day society. I mean, did you guys see that the CEO of ChatGPT was on Capitol Hill and testifying how this stuff even scares him? There was a segment on the news. They even called it Judgment Day. I mean, come on. I can't be the only one seeing the parallels here. More so the parallels to Terminator 3, now that I think about it, but that's just because I watched that the other day. That's fresh in my mind. It's not just Robert Patrick's performance with the dialogue. His physical acting also sells the fact that he's a robot. The way that he runs, it's Tom Cruise run, but with a hint of mechanics thrown in. Like, you can tell it's otherworldly. I'm not sure how he pulled that off, but major props to him for doing so. And oh man, the CG that's used on Robert Patrick is stupendous. You would be shocked to find out that there's actually a fair bit of effects that they did to Robert Patrick that was actually practical. Whenever there's like a blob of liquid metal that bursts open whenever he's shot, that's a practical effect. The huge like body horror type thing that he turns into at the end of the movie, I'm told, is a practical effect. I don't know. I've never seen a photo of it. It looks pretty real to me, though. That's part of the genius of how James Cameron was able to use CG throughout Terminator 2. He wanted to blend CG and practical. I think he said at one point, I'm paraphrasing him here, that he wanted to use practical effects because if he used CG too much, the eye would get used to it too quickly and it would start to look phony. Again, that was a paraphrase, but I'm pretty sure that's what he said. And if it was, that was brilliant. It's pretty creative, the solutions that the T-1000 comes up with. Like when the elevator door closes and he makes his hands just incredibly thin and slices through, and then he opens up the door just ever so slightly, and then his hands morph into these hook-like contraptions to open the door. The way that he's confused when his gun doesn't morph through the metal bars in the psychiatric hospital always makes me laugh. I just love Robert Patrick so much. This was such a perfect way to follow up Arnold's huge, imposing bodybuilder physique from the last movie. 3 out of our 4 main characters have been introduced here. We now move along to Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton, once again, and her performance changes on a dime. I mean, she is a completely different character than she was in the first Terminator film, and it's for the better. I really love her in this role. I didn't hate her in the first Terminator film. I liked her a lot in it. She played that role well, but here, the pistol-packing mama that she plays here is way more appropriate for her personality, I think. I totally buy her as a crazy, whacked-out nutjob type character, because think about it. If you were the only one who knew when the apocalypse was coming, and no one around you believed you, you'd probably crack at some point too. You can tell, too, in her chemistry with Edward Furlong that she really does care about her son's survival, not only because he's the savior of the future, but also because that's her kid. You want your kid to survive under any circumstances. I'm not a father myself, but I plan on being one someday, and I'm sure that when I am, I want my kid to survive and thrive in any circumstance that he or she is given. I relate to Sarah Connor a lot in this movie because of that, because of my own plans to become a parent one day. It is kind of funny, though, when you hear Edward Furlong's voice crack. Mom! 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 There are some scenes where he kind of sounds like a beluga whale, but he was a teenager. His voice was changing. I'm not going to rag on him for it. It's just kind of funny. But the one thing that Terminator 2 is known for, other than upping every single stake that it possibly could, is how great of an action movie it is. The truck chase sets everything up so perfectly. It sets every action scene up wonderfully, and each action scene builds upon the other. They just keep getting more epic as the movie goes on. Like I said, the truck chase, it's amazing. The fact that Robert Patrick will not stop. His semi-truck's roof gets ripped off, and he just, boing, hops back up and just pushes the broken windshield out of the way and keeps driving. The way that Arnold's, quote, stunt double there, because you can totally see the stunt double's face, but that's part of what makes Terminator 2 fun, grabs John Connor off of his dirt bike and puts him onto his motorbike, and the dirt bike gets run over, and he starts doing that cool gun flip move that he just keeps shooting the T-1000 with. I mean, it's so good. The camera angles, the quick cuts, everything just makes this feel so adrenaline-fueled. I love it so much. The breakout of the psychiatric hospital, amazing as well. Linda Hamilton's performance there when she meets the Terminator for the first time since 1984. She sells me on the fact that Arnold is terrifying. I love her performance in that, and I love that John is actually tasked with being the parent for a couple minutes there. That's a great twist on that role. And Arnold's delivery of the "you come with me if you want to live" is so perfect. Everyone remembers Arnold saying that, not Michael Biehn. At least I do. Sure, Michael Biehn said it first, but Arnold said it better. Then we get some downtime in the Mexican desert where John Connor's trying to teach the Terminator how to be more human, and the Terminator, in a weird way, is kind of like a father to John. They state that outright. I'm not looking too deep into this movie. This movie's not very deep to begin with, but it's just really cool to be able to see that. And acted so well. There are some scenes in the special edition cut, though, where Arnold smiles, or at least Edward Furlong's trying to teach him how to smile, and let's just say I'm glad those scenes were cut. The special edition is fun. I'm glad that James Cameron got to put those scenes back in and put that cut out there. I'm glad that most of those scenes were excised. And remember what I said about preferences? When the Terminator grabs that minigun and smiles? Oh, hell yeah, you know it's on. Another fantastic scene comes after that, where Linda Hamilton goes to assassinate Miles Dyson, because he's the one that creates Skynet, or at least leads to Skynet's creation. And I love, again, when John has to be her parent and tell her to stop. But in reality, he didn't have to do that, because she wasn't going to go through with it to begin with. And just Linda Hamilton's acting in that scene, she breaks down psychologically and is at her lowest point ever. She was going to murder an innocent man. That's why I remember that scene so much. But the more memorable part is when Arnold cuts open his arm and shows the robot arm, and it's fantastic. It's really gory too, just that bloody circle that's on his arm, and just the weird, gross sound effect that's used when he rips the skin off. It's just, gives me the heebie-jeebies every time, but in a good way. And the arm puppet is amazing. Then we get to the Cyberdyne building, and possibly the best action scene in the movie starts here, when Arnold walks out with that machine gun and is just blowing away cops. I do think it's kind of funny that he says that no cops died. Human casualties were 0.0. I'm not sure how you have a 0.1 casualty. But come on, you know someone had to be seriously maimed in that. There's no way all those cops walked away scot-free without somebody getting at least a second-degree burn. Although it is pretty cool when he blows up all the cop cars with the machine gun, and then he throws it down, and then he grabs the grenade launcher. I mean, I just love all the gun work in this movie. It's so good. Then we get to possibly the best action scene in the movie. Like I said, they keep building on top of each other with the secondary truck chase and the stunt where Arnold climbs out of that pickup truck, walks onto the semi-truck, and just starts shooting at Robert Patrick, who's driving it. That wasn't fake. That was practical. It may not have been Arnold who did it. It may have been a stuntman, but wow, you can tell it's practical, and it looks fantastic. Then again, the most famous action scene in the movie, and possibly the best one, we get to the steel mill, where the climactic battle with the T-1000 happens. And again, just great special effects all around. Great use of twins, by the way, throughout the movie. The scene at the psychiatric hospital where the mustached security guard is grabbing a coffee and the T-1000 morphs into him, that's a set of twins. And then the scene where the T-1000 morphs into Sarah Connor and tries to fool John, and the real Sarah Connor shows up from behind her. Yeah, that's Linda Hamilton's twin. It's amazing. I think it's really cool, too, how the T-1000 tries to morph into literally everything that he's turned into throughout the entire film, just to try to get out of that impossible situation, because I'm sure in his mind, he never thought he would end up in a molten pit of steel. How could I not talk about, though, earlier when the T-1000 was thought to be defeated, and Arnold delivers one of the most famous lines in cinematic history. Hasta la vista, baby. Boom! I'll admit, first time I saw it, I thought the T-1000 was dead too, but then we didn't realize, oh yeah, heat, liquid nitrogen, probably doesn't fare well against that. The way the T-1000 dies too is just, it's freaky, man. You like go into his mouth as he's screaming, and then it morphs into another mouth, and then it just all just floats away. That shows even the T-1000 fears death. Like, that's crazy. A machine fears death. Then the saddest scene in the movie starts. Arnold has to sacrifice himself and lower himself into the steel pit. Yeah, it still gets me today. And that's because of just how great the chemistry between Arnold, Hamilton, and Furlong is. Arnold doesn't feel like a machine at the end of this film. He feels like a part of this little family. And it sucks to have to see him go. However, this scene in the steel mill is where my one problem comes in. What the hell happened to the other Terminator arm? The T-1000 stuffed Arnold's left arm into a weird gearbox thing, and Arnold yanks himself free of that to try to go stop the T-1000. That other arm is intact, though. It's still in the system. It's just wrapped up in all those gears. Whatever happened to that thing? The movies never actually address it, so we're left to speculate. I'm going to speculate that the man who found it sold it off to a very powerful cybernetics company, and he retired to live in the Bahamas, which is also where he died when Judgment Day happened. At least he died in the closest thing to heaven that we have here on Earth. Guys, I think I've said enough here. I've basically gone through the whole movie beat by beat. Terminator 2 is just so good. It ups every single stake that you possibly could. It pays off in every way. The action scenes are fantastic. The character work is great. It's not a deep philosophical film, although it does have a pretty significant message of humanity always wants to kill itself for some reason. The scene where Sarah Connor sees herself playing with John on that children's playground, and then the nuclear bomb goes off, and then everyone turns to ash, and you see Sarah Connor's skeleton. Nightmare fuel probably for a young child, but for an adult, makes you think a little bit. I 100% recommend that you go out and watch Terminator 2 right now. Even if you've seen it, turn off this video right now. Don't listen to the rest of it. Go watch it right now because it's amazing. I don't ever use that word normally here on the show unless I'm quoting someone, but hear my words. Terminator 2 is fucking amazing. It's one of the best sequels ever made. An argument could be made for it being the best sequel ever made, along with The Empire Strikes Back. I mean, those two are just above everything else. Number 4, where should you pick this product up? Same answers as number 1. And number 5, what price should you pay? Well, I picked up my VHS copy from a flea market, so I'd say probably around $5 for that. It's really not worth that much. It was cool to find in person, though. Cool to show here on Home Media Reviews. The DVD I'm not even going to bother with, but that original one from 97, it probably sold pretty well, so it's probably not hard to find. There's a bunch of different versions of it out there, so you'll be able to find one pretty cheap. The Blu-ray, I'm only going to give you a price for the Skynet variant, because that one I think is the best Blu-ray that you can buy for your money that doesn't look like complete garbage. About 10 to 15 for that one. That one's pretty nice. And that's the one that's included in the Terminator anthology set. So if you pick up that set, you're getting the Skynet version. Although you are stuck with the crappy Blu-ray transfer of the first Terminator if you buy that anthology set. So pick your poison with that. Avoid the 4K at all costs. Don't buy that thing unless you like cool steelbooks. And you promise me you'll never watch it. So that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up the home media review for Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I love this movie so much. It is now firmly in probably my top 20 movies of all time. It's an ever-changing list, of course. What film fans list isn't ever-changing? But I cannot recommend that you go out and watch it enough. It is as good as everyone says it is. So what could we possibly follow up one of the greatest action films ever made with? Well, remember my 3 things I said you couldn't have a 5th season of home media reviews that's based on action films with. You couldn't have it without Arnold Schwarzenegger, without Nicolas Cage, and Sylvester Stallone. We've done Cage, we've done Schwarzenegger, it's Stallone's turn now. And what better way to follow up Arnold's most well-known franchise with one of Stallone's best-known franchises? Rocky is not an action film, so we're not following it up with that. We're following it up with another of Stallone's most famous roles, that of John Rambo. We're going to be talking about his first time ever playing that badass action hero, First Blood, in 2 weeks. Next week is Memorial Day, and as I do every year, I'm taking that week off to honor our fallen heroes who have fought and continue to fight for the freedoms that many of us in this country take for granted. I'm sure John Rambo would be very happy to hear that I will not be uploading on Memorial Day. I'm going to take that time to reflect on all the various freedoms that I have here in the United States. The freedoms that a lot of other countries don't have, and I suggest that you do the same. So I will see you all back here in 2 weeks with First Blood. Appreciate every single one of you. And as always, good night, everybody. Rosie. You're being rude. I'm recording a video here. My dog is in here with me, and she was just chewing her feet very loudly. I told you to stop, Rosie. No, don't do that.